tries really to look into what exactly Kenya has been doing to create jobs all over the place. Well, Kenya continues to struggle with job creation, with millions of youth coming onto the job market every year. With the current state of lack or of underemployment in Kenya, just where are these jobs? Well, to try and help us answer just that question and to talk to us about what we need to be doing in terms of creating these opportunities and enabling you as, well, a person who's looking to get out there in the job market, put yourself out there. Two people in studio, experts in that field. Well, first, of course, is Yusi Hinkanen, I hope I got that right, CEO of Fuzu, and Rachel Othiambo, who is operations manager at the same company, I believe.
Yes.
Well, karibuni sana. Now, I want to start off with you, Yusi, and the question for most people really is, there are lots of youth who are jobless out there. They keep saying, we have skills, we're searching for employment. We are not being able to find something that will keep us gainfully employed in one way or the other. Why do you think this is the case?
It's a very good question. So we've, of course, been researching that quite a bit and trying to figure out ways of solving it.
Yes.
I think that one question there is that the higher education institutions or polytechnics, the way that they're training the students, they don't always, when they graduate, possess the relevant skills for the job market. So sometimes there's a bit of a mismatch. And the research shows that about half of people who have received professional education are actually not employable according to the employers. So we need... The situation is not that bad, not quite that bad, but we still need to provide youth with slightly additional training in both soft skills and certain hard skills to rapidly improve their employability.
Why would this be the case? Here is the case of a government that essentially, after charging taxes, we would expect their role would be then to try and equip people with skills, education that makes them relevant in the environment, enable them to respond well to various stimuli, they get out there, survive, earn a living. Is this a historical problem or something that has happened and we are stuck in this hole?
I think it's partly also a global challenge. So the job market itself is transforming very rapidly at the moment, meaning that there's a lot of new requirements coming from particularly private sector. And the education system and the policies typically are a little bit slower in the way that they change. So we need to, though, put more weight on analyzing what actually are the requirements of the private sector and then to modify both the vocational and then the university degrees to follow suit.
Yes. Rachel, I want to bring you in at this juncture. And the question for most people out there is, being a young person yourself and seeing these challenges out there in the field, do you think, not just Kenyans, but in general, have the youth been able to swivel around, be able to turn themselves around quickly enough to respond to the changes in the market that we're talking about?
Yeah, I think so far that's a trend that's actually picking up. And you find that most people are now they're not trying to look for opportunities, but they're trying to create the opportunities themselves, whether it's in the Juakali industry or someone has has learned a certain trade and they're able to venture into it and actually start their own business by themselves. So most people nowadays are trying to become entrepreneurs, to own their own businesses as compared to waiting to get employed. Yeah.
There have been many conferences we've been to where people talk about creating opportunities for Africa, creating SMEs, creating new jobs, creating startups that will help drive employment and create these opportunities. There are others who say that Africa cannot SME its way out of poverty. Where do you think is the way forward on that?
So probably I'd start with saying it's not that we can't SME ourselves out of that. It's what's our mind, what's our mentality. Because I think like your brain it's more just going back to the question that you've asked me, is when you say that there are youths out there who are not waiting to get employed, but are creating the opportunities themselves, they're already creating a path for all the other people that are coming behind them. So it's not that we can't SME ourselves. It's a mentality that we need to change, which, as Yusi said, is that we're still slow in adapting to certain stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let's talk about some of the skills you mentioned, because you said that it could be a situation where that as much as 50% of the people who come into the job market don't have any really employable skills. They have stuff that is not relevant to the job market. What are the skills that are most sought after today? And are we doing enough in terms of churning out people who can then start to respond to those sorts of challenges?
Yeah. So our analysis mostly focuses on the formal job market.
Yeah.
So we don't look at the informal market, and also many of the entry-level positions in the blue-collar industries are not really in online space. So we are mostly mostly focused on the online space. The big demand at the moment is on sales, business skills, and so forth. There's also still quite a lot of roles, despite last year's challenges in the banking sector, insurance businesses, and so forth.
Yes.
And there's also demand in teaching, medical industries, and so forth. What is also interesting is the first two categories at the moment are getting more applicants than they actually are jobs, but particularly in teaching and medicine, there are actually many more positions than there are candidates. So there's a bit of a mismatch there.
Let's talk about employers and employees. The fact that if you have been in this human resource position, you're saying that we have this bunch of people that we call millennials, and they keep either jumping jobs, creating lots of stress in the workplace. They want things like yesterday. So many different challenges as compared to people who used to work in the same positions 10, 15 years ago, if those jobs existed. Why do you think this is the case? Is it a culture issue?
Again, it's a global phenomenon.
Yes.
So something that we see in my home country, Finland, as well. We see all over the planet. It's partly linked with the way that we have also ourselves been bringing our children up. So the concentration span is a bit shorter. But also people are looking at, let's say, people are more agile. So if I look back 20 years, people were looking at careers in same companies for many years. But nowadays, the youth in their early 20s or late teens are looking at opportunities where they can quickly find something that pleases them. So the job seekers are more demanding than what they were before. That's one clear reason as well. But if I look at then, it's also then about how do employers respond to this. So if I look at, for example, our own company, we haven't had one single person leave to date because there's alignment with values, there's alignment with the vision, and that's what the current youth is after. So they want to feel that it's not just a job, but it's also what I'm doing is aligned with something greater.
So they want to feel that what they're doing is meaningful.
Exactly.
And speaks to what they hold. But dear, let's come to you, Rachel. The fact that for a lot of Kenyans, if we look at, for example, the people who came out of high school last year, a huge chunk of them, the greater percentage, will not be going to university. So we're talking about technical, vocational skills for people like this. But the way our system has been working so far is to churn out people who are either have degrees and that sort of thing. But if you go into the job market, look at all the skyscrapers that are coming up. Most of that is foreign technology, foreign labor. How then do we start to work to bring our labor up to these standards?
I think the first thing goes back to having our higher learning institutions, for example, training people on the competence-based kind of skills. Because as you said, we're bringing in foreign people to come and build skyscrapers, build the roads. And for example, in next year, actually, Kenya should start, mining crude oil. But then if you go to an area like Turkana, you find out that the workforce that's there doesn't have the relevant skills for people like, for example, an employer to hire them to go and do crude oil mining. So this goes back again to our curriculum, our education system, that we need to change how we've been doing it all through. We need to start investing in, the youth of tomorrow. We need to start training them on those hard skills that we need them to have, if then they're the ones who will leave those institutions and come to the job market and be able to find something that's already there for them to do and not invest in bringing in foreigners to come and do work that we can actually do ourselves.
Maybe adding quickly there one topic, which is that we need to bring back the respect for vocational education. If you look at all the successful industrialized countries, there's a massive respect for plumbers, electricians, and so forth. That's something that we don't yet have in Kenya, and we need to find that somewhere.
Very quickly, the fact that today we could have all these people in schools, gaining various skills, gaining an education, but essentially they're training for jobs that don't exist today. So as a government, as a people in the marketplace, as parents, how then do you start to project for the skills that might be necessary in the future for jobs that you don't even know about?
I think that what typically happens around the world is that we look at our national strengths. We look at where do we actually have opportunities, and we make sure then that we invest in those sectors, whether it's agriculture, whether then it's tourism, whether then it's mining and so forth. And we make sure with this foresight that we start setting up the institutions in place that train the people in those relevant skills. And it kind of naturally follows from there.
Okay, indeed, unfortunately, we have run out of time, but a very interesting conversation there around jobs, the job market, and the youth. Thank you very much both for taking the time to talk with us. Of course, to mention that Fuzu is a company that operates right across the globe. You're from Finland. and that you are in the market and have been at the forefront of enabling people be able to find the opportunities in employment that have been out there, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, indeed. We now want to go to a short commercial break, but when we do come back, we have yet another conversation, and this time we will be discussing the Global Money Week and, of course, what is being done to enable the youth start to have a conversation about their money and what they can do with it in terms of growing its savings, its investment, and that sort of thing. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere.